Hello, and welcome to another expectational episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel. I am one of your hosts. I've lost about 120 pounds.
Wow.
I am a Tiny Habit certified coach, a Thrive Global certified coach.
Oh, yeah.
And I have an expectational husband. I make up words. That doesn't make any sense. Hi.
Yeah.
And Donald Weigel is with me today.
Hello. My name is Donald Weigel, and I am also here. I expect that I am here, and I expect if you're hearing this that you're listening to it.
I expect that as well.
I have lost about 100 pounds. I've kept it off for, 6 years, and I have been here expecting to start podcasting this episode something.
You know what, though? About expecting to start this episode, I know language changes, but I don't want expectational to be a new word.
Yeah.
But we almost didn't record today's episode because of words in the form of Wordle.
Oh, yeah.
Donald got stuck. And look,
very stuck on
we're
Wordle.
very late to
very
the Wordle.
behind the Wordle curve. I think I've only been doing it since about, it was Labor Day weekend. I know it was Labor Day weekend because a friend of ours got me to do my first one on Labor Day weekend.
I was against it. It's sort of, a lagging?
Late
whatever?
adopter?
Late adopter.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the Angry Birds movie. Like Angry Birds. Do you remember that?
Right. Angry Birds was like a thing, and then the movie came out, like, it felt like a
6
decade
years
later.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, Wordle, that's like, I don't even know what that is. Like, and I didn't want to do it. And now we're obsessed. And Donald had a little bit of trouble this morning with his word because he had an expectation of it being a certain word.
I like how you're tying it
No,
into
but like
the
you were
episode.
like, well, it has to end with S and T.
Yeah, no, I was convinced it was the last two letters were PT or NT, and then I tried an NT word and it wasn't that, and so I was stuck on it.
It was in a fit of rage.
Yeah,
But when we have,
and then it turned out to be FT were the last two letters.
when we have expectations about how something is supposed to go, it can be really frustrating because we don't get out of, like, it's like, nope, Wordle is wrong. I'm going to sue them. They obviously don't even know what their word is. And I do that too. Like,
there are no 5-letter words that have this combination of letters.
sometimes I'm sitting here doing it and like there are some letters and I'm just like, I'm trying to sound out like,
I try words that I know aren't words just in case they might be words that I never heard of.
Yeah, I was surprised. Schlep is actually a word, which I was very happy to see that because I schlep quite often.
Yeah, I tried the word SCIPT this morning just to see if it might be a word, and it was not. It was not a word.
Well, and then the actual word ended up just being like
it was shift.
Shift.
Yeah,
that's a word I've heard
and
of.
in hindsight, it was obvious.
It was, but sometimes.
And
again,
we're here to ask you to shift your expectations about your reality.
See, we just take little bits of life and in 5 letters or less, pull it together for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And today, like Donald said, we are going to talk about, because we're right in the middle of the holiday season. It is happening right now. It's the middle of December. And we're here to just sort of talk about the difference between the expectations of the holidays versus the reality of the holidays. And a lot of times when we have those expectations, we have sort of rigid expectations of how things are going to go, don't we, Donald?
Absolutely.
And that rigidity leads to, oftentimes it leads us to be angry when things don't go the way we expect them to go. And if you know anything about us and our annoying growth mindsets, it's that being adaptable and being able to pivot from your expectations is part of the growth process.
Your growth mindsets are so annoying.
No, but it is like,
I know.
There are times when one of us, me, you, one of us, will be like,
I love how this is going to end up being me.
No, but
I'm the bad guy.
No, but there are times when it's just like, can I just be annoyed for like 5 minutes and then we can get onto the growth mindset?
Oh, yeah.
So, but
no, it's true.
I used to be mad for a week and now I allow myself a limited period of time to wallow in self-pity. And then I'm like, okay, I have a growth mindset. You're right. So we're We're going to ask you to do that today, dear listener.
Exactly.
So let's talk about expectations a little bit. If you just sort of meditate on what you expect this season to be. Maybe you have expectations of decorating the house and visiting with friends, embracing holiday traditions. I don't know why I'm talking like that.
Yeah, I was going to say. I don't know where that voice is coming from.
It's a wonderful voice.
Yeah.
But like you want to mindfully enjoy festive treats. And maybe, you know what? I have a few days off. I'll figure out my whole life. But why not throw that in there? Doesn't that happen sometimes?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, look, it's the end of the year. New Year's barreling down. You're looking back upon the year that just happened, and you're saying to yourself, I didn't figure out my whole life, but I have about 2.5 weeks in which to do it, so I'm going to do it now.
Yeah, but I've done that on vacations. Like, I'm going to, I'm away for 7 days. I'll come back a new person. But, like, we want to spend quality time with people we love. We want to make snow angels. We want to live an Insta-worthy life. And maybe you want to also magically lose weight this month. That hasn't happened for me typically in December.
Yeah.
But I go, you know what? I'm going to lose weight. It'll be fine. And we have these expectations of what life is going to look like. But sometimes
I desperately want to live an Insta-worthy life. And then I realized that you have to actually take photographs and post them to make that happen. And then I'm like, no, I'm not willing to do that. Well, so I don't have a problem.
we share photos in Google Photos, and I take photos every day of very many things.
Yeah.
Coffee cups and beautiful light and the falling leaves. And then I looked in your Google Photos, and it was like utilitarian, like a picture of scissors and maybe like your feet, because you were your running shoes, because you wanted to show me which to order for you on But for me, it's like my whole life is laid out in photographs, and Donald's is not. But it's a
lot of work taking your phone out of your pocket and pointing it at something.
I don't know, but I take tons of photos, but then I don't post them on Instagram. Like, I haven't posted on our Instagram page in ages. I'm busy. I'm busy taking photos, but posting them just seems like a bridge too far.
No, I know. And that brings us to the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
You're talking about wanting to live an Insta-worthy life, but things that you need to do. You need to work. You need to go to work so you can earn money and have a place to live and food and stuff. You need to do daily household tasks. You need to grocery shop, do laundry, pay your bills. Maybe you've got a family trip, and, that sounds fun, but also it involves a lot of planning, and those can also, at least before the trip, can be very stressful, and sometimes during the trip. And this time of year, maybe you're going to see family, and maybe that's fantastic, but maybe it's also a source of stress and anxiety for you. Maybe you have a giant work deadline, like something that has to be done before the holidays or before the end of the year. Maybe you've got an extra side hustle that you're trying to work on. And then, of course, because this is our podcast, you've got all the health stuff that you want to deal with. And maybe you've got kids and you need to also manage their holiday enjoyment.
Yeah. And especially if they're off of school and suddenly you need to find childcare or you need to entertain. There are a lot of conflicting things. We have this ideal of what December is going to look like, and then we are rudely reminded about all of the practical day-to-day things that we also have to get done. And from that, we can get kind of angry about it. It doesn't seem fair that we have to actually have jobs and do laundry and get work deadlines done when we have this expectation of this magical season. And when we start saying to ourselves, this isn't fair, everyone else gets to have fun instead of me, we can get really bitter and angry. And that's not what we want. We don't want that stinking thinking.
No, not at all.
So a few things to let go of this season is the willpower you think you need to manage your food choices. Letting go of comparison. Well, they get to do that. They're on vacation, but I have to work this week. They are living this Insta-worthy life, and I'm struggling. And also letting go of the pushing the plans down the road. I'm sure I'll just figure out all the food situations. I'm sure I'll figure out how to have a good time. I'm sure I'll figure out my whole life this month while I'm off. Letting go of comparison and magical thinking about progress you're going to make without any plans is really critical on your health journey.
Yeah. And then, we want you to let go of all of that. But what we don't want you to let go of is all of your healthy habits.
and they can get lost in the shuffle with the holiday cheer and the actual life expectations that you have.
Yeah. And, Catherine and I have been reading a book called The Healthy Mind Toolkit by Alice Boyce, and we've actually done a few episodes of the show based on some of her writings about self-sabotage that people do. And in The Healthy Mind Toolkit, she talks about cycles of diminishing self-care. And I just want to read a short passage from that. She says, here's a principle that everyone needs to understand about stress. When stress has a negative effect, it's often not the stress itself that directly causes problems. Instead, the negative impact happens because self disrupts the self-care we would normally do. So it's not necessarily, okay, holiday time, all those things that we talked about that you have to do. It's not usually stress equals problems. It's usually stress leads to skipping your self-care, which then leads to problems.
Yeah, 100%.
And then, self-care isn't always what you might think that it is.
Exactly. So like Donald said, self-care may not always be what you think it is. A lot of times I know when I used to hear practice self-care, it felt like bubble baths and manicures and quiet cups of coffee, looking at vistas and running away to Paris and that kind of thing.
Taking a bubble bath is like a nightmare to me.
Oh my God. Ew.
I have no interest in that. Hey, look, if you dig it and it relieves your stress, then you go for it. But
those self-care is gross and woo-woo and whatever. But self-care is actually practicing habits, daily habits, getting enough rest. That's not woo-woo. That's just a good idea. But we often let go of well, I just won't sleep and I just won't eat well and I just won't, do all the things that I know make me feel good because I don't have time for that.
Yeah. I think that we oftentimes lose sight of the fact that our healthy habits are self-care.
Yeah.
So focusing on sleep, eating right, eating on our plan. I shouldn't say eating right. That's too generic, but eating on our plan, and exercising, getting some movement. All of those things are actually self-care. And when I am doing those things, I know that my stress level goes down and I feel much better about myself.
Well, and I think too, just as an example of diminishing self-care at the holidays, say you've had a really busy, stressful day. And this goes for any time of the year. You've had a really busy, stressful day. You had to, work plus do the extra holiday things. So you get home and to decompress, you treat yourself by scrolling on your phone until midnight instead of going to sleep early.
Right.
You want that alone time, that me time, which is definitely something we used to do. We would stay up super late.
Yeah, I would always be I had to give all of this time during the day to everybody else. Now this is me time, so I'm going to stay up late and watch another episode of Seinfeld or scroll on my phone just a little bit longer.
Right. So staying up until midnight then leads to being really sleepy in the morning when you have to get up. You end up skipping your morning workout routine or your morning walk or prepping your breakfast or prepping your lunch for work. So it diminishes the next day by sabotaging today. So do you find that in your life, Donald?
I do. And just as a little bit of a side note, I just came across a study when I was researching next week's episode, actually.
He did. He researched the heck out of it.
Which actually found that there's long time been a link between people who are sleep deprived and obesity. And this study particularly found that when you don't get enough sleep, that your body, I can't remember what the exact chemicals were, but your body doesn't release a certain chemical, and it impedes your ability to make good judgments when it comes to food choices and exercise choices. So,
yikes! Now I'm afraid to be awake.
I know getting a good night's sleep is really crucial in that decision making process and making sound decisions during the day.
Yikes!
But another example might be, you're stressed, etc. You're having a bad day. You've got too much going on, and so you skip buying groceries. And so then that leads you to sort of wing it when it comes to food. And so maybe you're at work and you end up, ordering out with lunch with everybody else or whatever, or you just grab fast food on the way home.
Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many times I ate a bag of Chex Mix and a Coke for lunch. And that was like, well, this is my lot in life. I don't have time to do that. Oh,
yeah. And so you just you go in without any sort of a lunch plan. And so there, you end up eating a bag of Chex Mix and a Coke.
That's exactly
some sad sack might.
Yeah. Sad snack, more like. But also, I didn't do yoga, which makes me, when I do it, I feel super relaxed. And stretching is really important to me. That's what I say it is.
Yeah.
But when I skip it, suddenly my back hurts and I feel tense and I feel stiff. And then it perpetuates that negative, today seems harder because I didn't do yoga. I didn't, I'm so busy and important, I can't take a 5-minute walk, is what I tell myself. And then guess what? To revenge for that, I stay up late again and watch Seinfeld. Or whatever the electronic version of Seinfeld is now. Angry Seinfeld Birds? Is that
Angry Seinfeld Birds?
It would probably be George Costanza, launching toward people if I had to.
Absolutely. I think we need to invent that video game. And then, here's the classic one that is me. And I would do this over and over again, and I still sometimes fall into this cycle. I would get stressed out. I would get really upset or angry over something, and then I would eat for comfort because food is sort of instant relief and pleasure, and I would go to food for that comfort, and then I would feel guilt and shame about it because, I didn't eat on my plan and I ate that thing that I wasn't supposed to.
And I'm a garbage person.
And the comfort I got was just really short. And then I would eat more for comfort because I would be feeling bad about myself again. And then I would feel more guilt and shame about it and feel bad. And then what would I do? I would eat more for comfort. So and it was this never-ending cycle.
So what do we do? We've now really depressed all of the people listening to the show. But do you recognize any of those cycles in yourself? And the next part of this is sort of going to talk about how to get past that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just to go back half a step, the bottom line here is we're asking you to keep your healthy habits going, at least to the extent that you can. Keep as much of it going as you can, because you may not realize how much those healthy habits are helping you reduce your stress and making you feel better about yourself and feel more positive about the future.
Well, and I think too, and this is a surprise, I'm presenting a letter P in this episode. You didn't think it was coming.
I didn't.
But sometimes, again, with those rigid expectations, we have an expectation of, I usually go to my workout class and now I can't, and now I'm bitter about it. But sometimes during the holidays, what we need to do is pause our ideals, pause the ideals that we're able to do in less stressful months, less event heavy months, and just say that's something for the new year. And this month, I'm going to be adaptable. How do we do that, Donald?
How do we do that? Well, let's go back to Alice Boyce and her book, The Healthy Mind Toolkit. She suggests you come up with an if this, then that plan. And, last week we did our episode about the 6 Ps or the 7 Ps. And we've also talked about having policies in place of if I only drink alcohol on one alcoholic drink on Friday night, so that you're not winging it. But this basically is you put a plan in place. If something happens that's out of the ordinary or out of your control, then you have a backup plan to follow. So if I can't get myself to go grocery shopping, then I have a list of foods online that I can have delivered. So you've already got a pre-set up, like in the moments when you don't feel stressed and you're in the sort of sober cold light of day, you create an online grocery shopping list that you can very easily go to, just place an order and have your groceries delivered. Or you have some frozen meals on hand that you know fit into your plan, and they're easy to just keep in the back of the freezer, and you have them on hand and they're ready to go for when these moments come up. Or you have taken and figured out some local restaurants that have some dishes that are on your plan, and you already know what they are, and you already know what the calories are, or what the, if you're doing low carb or whatever, they're all set up to fit your plan. And you can stay on those by then ordering those things instead of going and winging it with, whatever fast food treat that you're tempted to go for.
Exactly. And I think that sort of, again, that if this, then that is sort of like the good luck. And you just talked about frozen food. Like, we don't talk about it as emergency backup plans. This isn't going out to dinner is not an emergency plan.
Right.
It's like, ooh, great, I have options. And changing your language around disruptions and being able to pivot is part of having a growth mindset. It's looking for a small solution that is good enough in this season. So again, if I can't go to yoga class, like, it's not, my life sucks and everything's terrible. It's, wow, okay, like, things come up, and occasionally I can't do my ideals.
Yeah.
Not like I would say that, like, I cannot do my ideals, but like, oh, okay, I can't go. I'm disappointed, but good luck. I've got a yoga mat at home, and in between my Zoom meetings, I can stretch out a little bit in the living room, which I actually did this morning before this very podcast while Donald was trying to figure out the word shift.
Yes.
So shifting expectations. Oh, wait, you already made that connection. Never mind. But like when I notice I'm feeling stiff, like I can't go for a 5-minute walk. The weather is bad. What I can do is a couple of downward dogs. I can just like stretch out a little bit and like celebrate that.
Yeah. Or maybe you know that if you can't do your yoga, maybe you know that even just taking a 5 or 10 minute walk, like, reduces your stress and makes you feel better. Like, you get outside for a minute and you actually, do something and get a little movement. Maybe that makes you feel better, or maybe you can do a 5-minute meditation and that brings your stress down. It has a similar effect as the yoga class with much less time put in.
Yeah. So with any health plan or just focusing on yourself, there are certain cornerstone habits that really matter in your journey venture. It's not that you're taking a vacation from all of your healthy habits. You can bring them into the holiday season with you. For example, having an ideal of, well, I'm going to make a fresh salad. I'm going to, make everything from scratch. I put things in place like, you know what? I'll have an apple today. Like, that's not a huge ask.
Yeah.
That's not like, oh, look, I'm going to have some baby carrots. Again, it's not the ideal, but it is that if then scenario of, if I don't have the energy to make the salad, then I can, I can have an apple and I will celebrate that.
Yeah. Or like, we buy those bags of already cleaned, already washed, already peeled, like baby carrots that are just ready to eat. And I buy the bags of pre-sliced apples that are like someone's already done all the work for me, because I know that when I am stressed or upset or, I'm tired, I will look at a whole apple and be like, it is just too much work to have to wash that off and bite it. Like, I have to bite that thing with my mouth? No, that is not happening.
Well, and I buy, I have enough bandwidth. I prioritize whole apples, and like Donald looks at me and is like, I don't even know
that
what is
so
happening
much work right now.
But lucky Donald has his bag of apples.
Yeah.
But it's really important to think about the real you And not this is a quote from Donald, so I feel like I need to read it because Donald wrote this, and it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. No, everything I write's really powerful.
It's important to think about what the real you will be willing to follow through with, and not the ideal you.
Yeah.
What? They're two different people.
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, when you're making your if this, then that plan, think about what you can actually get yourself to do in the moment. And, for me, it's not, wash and peel a carrot and then eat it. It's pull a baby carrot that's already been washed and peeled for me out of a bag and eat it. I know myself well enough to know that.
Exactly. And I think another thing, just in terms of the mindset thing, which we haven't covered so far, is having if this, then that for stressful situations. If a family member stresses you out at the holidays, then you will go take a short walk. Having something in mind of then I will take a deep breath and realize I don't need to engage. You can take the if this, then that into social situations. So it's not just about the practical habits, but the mindset part is really important as well. I know for me and for us, we have a lot of travel coming up this holiday season.
Yeah.
And really preparing myself emotionally for stressful situations that are a little bit out of my control, I think is really going to be key to keeping cool. If we miss the train, then we will wait for the next one and play angry.
She's looking at me.
Angry
She's looking
Costanza.
At me. I have a real issue with missing trains and buses and things like that. It sends me straight to an 11 on the rage meter.
But then I will annoyingly be like, Donald, this is the time when we made a promise to create the Angry Costanza game. And this is a perfect time while sitting in the train station for you to start figuring out how to make a video game. And see, what good luck.
It really is. And the Angry Costanza in this situation is the man in the mirror, me in this situation. But if you have the bandwidth, getting away from my rage at missing trains and going back to creating your if this then that plan, if you have the bandwidth, when you're feeling good, when you're rested, really sit down and think about it, or even better, write down some ideas. Think about situations that have derailed you in the past.
That's a good idea.
And write down those situations and think about, okay, so if that happens, what could you do? What could you have done that maybe it doesn't even have to be, make it an ideal situation, but what could mitigate the problems that were caused? What could mitigate the damage that was done to your health and fitness plan, or to your stress, or to your mental well-being? What could you do to improve the situation next time, and actually come up with an if this, then that plan? And then here's the thing to remember. If you try something and it doesn't work, you can try something else. That doesn't mean that it's some final failure. It doesn't, I used to tell myself that I was broken, that I would never be able to figure this out. And now I know well enough that if I do something and it doesn't work, or if I might come up with the best if this then that plan in the world, and I might not be able to stick to it in the moment, but I know that doesn't mean that it's over and that I can't figure it out and that I'll never figure it out. I know I can do it. And I know the next, 3 out of 4 times I will, the if this, then that plan will work, or I will try something else and I will figure it out. That I know I have that growth mindset, that I can do this and I can figure it out, and I've done hard things before and I can do them again.
Well, and I think too, as we're finishing this up, really focusing on like you said, the if this, then that, but also changing your language around setbacks. So often we go, dinner is ruined, the holidays are ruined, I never get my way, see, I'll never figure this out. And when we use words like never and always and ruined and these big, headline grabbing language, we overestimate the impact of one small thing that didn't go our way. And our brains really do rely on us to be positive. It's like when we're running a marathon, we're not booing our way to the end.
Right.
We are like cheering ourselves on. And when we change the language to like, this didn't go well, but things are going to work out. The pot roast was ruined, but we can go out for Chinese food.
Right.
Like we can, if we change the language and say like, I haven't figured this out yet, but I will get through this. I can adapt to this. It changes the way our brains work. And we actually start looking for solutions instead of just deciding that everything is ruined.
Yeah. Really, really stop and show yourself some kindness when you don't stick to your plan, when you're not your ideal self. And work from a place of kindness and growth and positivity moving forward rather than trying to beat yourself up.
Yeah. And the more we're able to take care of ourselves this holiday season, the better we can show up for other people. The more we get out for a quick walk, the more sleep we get, the better we stick to our health goals, the better our brains work, and the more like able we are to deal with tough situations.
Absolutely.
If we're exhausted and overwhelmed and, creaky and tired, that's not our best selves. So coming up to the second half of December with a growth mindset, prioritizing a little bit of normal self-care, no bubble baths required, will really help us all thrive through the new year because we are grown-ups who are capable of doing hard things. Sometimes we get what we want. Other times we're able to adapt and pivot and things still work out. We get on another train, don't we?
We do. Then another train comes along.
I'm sorry. I'll stop.
Wow. I feel so attacked.
Stop.
Yeah.
We only have like one, maybe 4 trains. 4 trains we're going to have to get on this holiday season. So train yourself to be positive. There we go.
I like it.
So practice your if this, then that scenarios. Think about how you can adapt when a challenge comes your way, because the more we practice that behavior, the more easily those solutions will come to you. If you look for solutions, they will be there for you.
Yeah, it's a skill like anything else. It's like, we feel like it's obvious that you have to practice a musical instrument to get better at it, but we don't think about how we have to practice these things to get better at them. We have to really practice our self-care to get better at it. We have to practice our if this then that plans to get better at it. And we have to figure out what works and doesn't work and adjust and move forward.
Yep, and if we can do it, you can too.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for listening. We are really appreciative and grateful of each and every one of you. Sincerely, the fact that you've taken the time to download and play this episode really does mean a lot to us. And you can download and play all of our episodes, or almost all of them, the most recent 300 on all of the major podcast platforms, wherever you found this episode. And if you want to go all the way back to episode number 1, you can do so on our website at weonlylookthin.com.
Yep. And if you are at weonlylookthin.com, head on over and click on that link that says join our support group to find out more about Wolt Place. We Only Look Thin Place is a Facebook-based accountability group for women. We are not a weight loss plan, but we are a great place for fellowship on this journey for healthy goals. I don't know. That's that didn't really work.
I promise she doesn't talk like that all the time in Wolt Place either.
I don't. So we are not a weight loss plan, but we are a place for accountability. I do Zoom meetings. There are just great connections in the group. We have subgroups that focus on weighing in and activity and food choices. So there's lots of ways to be involved. We have 2 subscription options, a monthly subscription with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wolt Place is right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really great way to get access to Katherine Weigel, who is invaluable, has been invaluable in my weight loss journey, adventure, without having to marry her, which is what I had to do.
What you had to do.
I had to do it in order to lose
there was
and
no
maintain
shotgun,
my weight.
I assure you.
Yeah, no. And also, if you want to interact with us in other ways, you can find us on social media. We are on Instagram occasionally, and Facebook a lot. At We Only Look Thin. And you can also email us. If you have a question, if you have an episode suggestion, we got a really good episode suggestion in an email recently. I'll just tease it, that we're going to do early in the new year, from a listener. And also, if you just want to say hi or send us a compliment, we love hearing from you at weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yep. And if you have a little bit of extra time this holiday season, could you head on over to Apple Podcast and just give us 5 stars, maybe leave us a review. Not only does it let us know that what we're doing is making a difference in your life, but it also helps other people find our podcast when they're looking for a healthy mindset podcast like ours. And honestly, we've gotten a few new comments recently and a few posts about people who have lost weight and listened to our podcast. And it just, every single one means so much. And knowing that you're finding success too and losing weight, very many. I'm not going to clap right now. Maybe Donald can add the clap sounds. I don't know. Do we have clap sounds?
No, we can't afford. We don't have the budget for that.
But honestly, congratulations to you, and thank you so much for making us a part of your journey venture.
Yes, thank you so much. And it really is I hate to say free, but it's a free way that you can support the show, and it really does help us out to leave us a 5 stars, preferably, rating and review. And another way you can really help us out and support the show is to just tell somebody about it. Word of mouth really helps the show grow. If you are in a conversation and it comes up, if you know somebody who might get something out of the show, if you are online, if you're in a Facebook group, if you're in a Reddit group or a Discord server, something like that, and it feels appropriate to give us a shout out, that really does help the show grow, and we would be appreciative.
Yep. Wow, that was like an if this, then that.
Oh, yeah. It really was.
So if you can't wait for Donald's new video game app with an angry George Costanza, just remember that Donald and I are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.